Aaron, Brett McMurphy tweets, Brock Bowers will undergo ankle surgery, likely missing remainder of season. UGA off this week, then face Florida. Now, Graham Coffey of Dog Central, he had a long tweet in which he screenshotted a post from the website. Georgia Insider says tightrope was recommended. Remember, that's the thing for the high ankle sprains where you can come back much quicker on them and it heals them. As Tua very famously did it back in 19 and everything else. Tightrope was recommended. Bowers camp saying they're going to get a second opinion and then decide what to do on Tuesday. Coffey closes the post saying, source says, quote, he's exactly like Chubb was. Brock and his family have already decided he's going to do whatever option will let him get back on the field the fastest. All he wants to do is play football for the University of Georgia. That could absolutely be true. Feels a little self-serving coming from Dog Central. Aaron, what is the latest that you've heard on Brock Bowers?
Yeah, listen, it's could be out the remainder of the regular season, because I know a lot of people are upset about the McMurphy tweet of saying, "Oh my God, it's not out for the entire season." So that's what I'm hearing. 3 to 6 weeks is usually the time frame, which would be out until possibly the SEC championship game. And if Georgia does make the playoffs, he should be back. If that's the case, fully healthy for a 2-game stretch to win another national championship. So that's kind of the timetable that I'm working with right now from what I'm hearing. And the way that he could possibly heal, he is Superman, for goodness sakes. Maybe he's even back before that. I don't know. But I think Georgia, based on the schedule.
Also back later than that, I mean, it could go both.
It could be true. You never know with these things like sprains and surgery, no surgery. It's always a tricky thing. And I look at the schedule too. And they kind of did this with Ladd. And I don't know the extent of Ladd McConkey's injury, but Ladd kind of slowly worked his way back into the lineup. And I think they looked at it and said, you know what? Do we need Ladd versus Ball State and South Carolina and UAB and Auburn? Well, they somewhat need him versus Auburn. Not really. So let's bring him back slowly. I think Georgia looks at their schedule right now and kind of has the same feeling. Like, yeah, Missouri's a great story this year. Yeah, Ole Miss has looked good at times. Tennessee, do we necessarily need Brock to win those games? You really don't need him. Would it be great to have him? Hell yeah, he's the best. He's the best weapon in college football. He forces defenses to declare certain things that give a quarterback an advantage, give Mike Bobo an advantage. But do you need him to win those games? Probably not. So am I going to hold him off till maybe Georgia faces LSU in the SEC championship game? I would think so. So I think that if it is a tightrope surgery, that's kind of the timeline that I would most likely anticipate, but not a doctor. We'll see what the second opinion says.
Greg Lamont says Mizzou beats Georgia by 2 touchdowns. You're not even making the SEC. I mean, Mizzou made a statement against Kentucky this weekend. I know we don't have it anywhere in the rundown today, and we don't have it anywhere to talk about really we didn't talk about it on Sunday, but that Kentucky-Missouri game was kind of insane. Like, Kentucky's at home at night. They jump out to a 14-0 lead. Mizzou's just playing awful at the beginning and dominated on the line, giving up 10 yards carry, turning the ball over, and then all of a sudden they said no more, and they end up winning that game. Big, dude. And it's with Luther Burden into the game with 2 catches for 15 yards. Like, Brady Cook didn't even have overwhelming stats. This Mizzou team is pretty frisky.
It's a good football team. It's
starting to call him Eli Drink Riz. He's got a little magic with him right now.
Whoever had the question in the chat of who am I more concerned about on the schedule for Georgia going forward without Brock Bowers, it would still be Ole Miss. Because Ole Miss, Ole Miss is a team that can score points, and that's always something that has concerned me with Georgia. It's been the big concern for 2 years. If you do face a team that can put up 35 plus points, maybe flirt in the 40s, can you go toe to toe with those teams? And last year they found a way to squeak it out versus Ohio State. But like that's always a type of game that will concern you, especially when you don't have your best weapon on offense. Like, I'm circling that one. Luckily, 2 of those games are in Sanford Stadium. But it's going to be a tough 4-game stretch. Like,
imagine that. How are all of your end of the season games at home as well? If all the beginning,
Tennessee's on the road.
Like, LSU was on the. Okay, wow, exactly. Thank you for proving my point. Yeah. No, that one game's on the road. And we have to go to Bobby Dodd. And people say, look, when you go to Bobby Dodd, you don't come out alive.
7 home games, 4 away games, and then 1 neutral site game. That's a hell of a schedule.
A 2-1 home to away ratio? What happened? Yeah. Look, here's the deal, man. And look, many of y'all talk shit about the T-Bob jinx, and I think you're full of shit. I will take it on the Brock Bowers front, though, because I did pretty much come on here last week and guarantee that he was going to go to New York City. Yep. Thought that he had the best chance on the Bulldogs easily to win a Heisman. And now not only is that not the case, but it's whether or not Georgia can win without him. I mean, UGA's already
Carson Beck with the Heisman.
Oh, really? Throwing to who?
Carson Beck with the Heisman.
Yeah, throwing to who? Because right now, Aaron, when I look, UGA's already trying to do the impossible, winning these 3 titles in a row. Never happens. Now, it just became that much harder. Like you said, it is Carson Beck's time. Yep. But again, who's he going to throw to? Because when I look at stats right now, shut the fuck up and listen. When I look at the stats right now, Brock Bowers has literally double the production of every other player on the team. 41 catches, 567 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jack Saint's the closest in the yardage department. He's at 333, only 18 catches. Lovett's the closest in catches with 31. Jack Saint's got 2 tuds. Lovett's got 1. McConkey's back, so that helps, but his per game numbers aren't even close. Yeah, Aaron, you're a quarterback that's always yelling at us about the importance of weapons, and you just lost maybe the most unique weapon in the entire country. And you're telling me that Georgia just and Georgia continues to look pretty shitty against bad teams. You're telling me that they're just going to roll, that this is no big deal, like everything else is no big deal with this Georgia team?
Yeah, I am going to say that. Maybe you see a dip in production on offense, but I look at the receivers right now, and you brought up Ladd. Ladd is one of the best receivers in the conference, and he's back healthy. You're going to have him play a bigger role. I think Marcus Jack Saint has played really well. 2 of the big transfer guys that came in this offseason, Dominic Lovett and Rara Thomas. And I'll speak to Rara first. Rara was non-existent for the first 3 or 4 games of the season. Just wasn't out there because it took him time to learn the playbook. I talked to the coaching staff this offseason. You're going from an offense that you ran at Mississippi State that was an air raid to now more of a pro-style system. It wasn't catching on fast enough for him. And Dom Lovett's playing a new position as well. So those guys all of a sudden the past 2 weeks have played really well. Rara's making plays over and over, and he's worked his way into the starting lineup. Dom Lovett had his best game of the season last week. So you have 2 of the best receivers from last season now have confidence in the offense, confidence with their quarterback, confidence from their offensive coordinator, along with one of the best returning receivers in the SEC in Ladd McConkey. Yeah, I like the receivers right now. I think those guys have to take their game to another level, and I think they're hitting their stride at the right moment. And before I let you kind of give your crazy take on this, a guy to watch out for.
I don't have a crazy take. My take is you got worse because you lost the best fucking weapon in the country.
I'm just saying,
you're the one out here telling me Brock Bowers doesn't matter.
Because you have
Rara and Love it.
Really good talent.
Where's the really good numbers? I don't see him. Was Brock Bowers just hoovering up all the touches? Nobody else could get in.
Why wouldn't you just throw to Brock? I mean,
we'll see.
We make fun of why does Travis Kelce lead the Kansas City Chiefs? Because he's the best tight end in America. You'd be an idiot not to try to target him 15 times a game. It's the same thing with Brock. I'm going to go after Brock
and if the Chiefs lose Travis Kelce, it's just all good. It's no problem. No, you're going to say, oh no, they don't have the receivers that Georgia does. Okay, we're going to find out. We're going to fucking find out.
Let me give you one person to look out for though. Lawson Lucky, who has been out the entire season. True freshman. Was the kid that balled out in the spring game. For Georgia fans that watched the game, was incredible. Looks like the coming of Brock Bowers, the second coming of him. Built like him, same size, not as fast, but pretty darn fast too. He's been banged up, played last week for the first time all season, I believe. He's going to play a bigger role. So just be on the lookout for number 7.
I'm going to need Georgia to lose almost just so you can fucking just stop it with this just unreal, nothing is ever bad. They're still good. Carson Beck's still going to win the Heisman. If Michael Penix had lost Roma Dunze, you'd be talking about how it was a big deal. If LSU lost Malik Neighbors, you'd be talking about how it was a big deal. This only is not a big deal because it's your boy Carson Beck and the Dogs. And yeah, I agree with Greg. From all LSU fans, just fucking beat Ole Miss and we won't have any problems. Okay. It's all we need y'all to do because we out here trying to fight. LSU Tigers out here trying to find a way back to Atlanta this year. Maybe we'll see. I think this is a massive deal. Aaron, for the most part on the show, normally talks about how like important it is to a quarterback to have elite weapons. You lose a true New York Heisman elite weapon for the rest of the regular season. If he comes back, maybe he comes back in the postseason. Maybe he's healthy. I don't know.
They don't win a national. You want me to say it? Like, I'll tell you, if he doesn't come back this season, they won't win a national championship. Are you happy? Like, is that what you want to get out of me? Because that is
exactly what I want.
That is the case. And I will say this: if they don't have Brock versus LSU, which I will continue to say this week in, week out until it's mathematically not possible, LSU is still my favorite team to make it to Atlanta to face Georgia. If they don't have Brock in that game, LSU is going to be the SEC champs.
Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go. That tickle you?
That's all. Look, that's all I want. Jonathan Bernstein, UJ, next man up. Let's go. Okay. Next man up. Yeah. I mean, it's the attitude, but unless it's whoever the fuck Aaron just tried to talk about from spring ball, it ain't Brock Bowers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
give me that loss and lucky. Give me that loss and lucky.
All right. Oh, by the way, this is very funny based on the me and Drake post that you made last week. It looks like we indeed did end up jinxing the Dogs. I apologize. Nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt.